Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today our topic is going to be working with negative numbers using addition and subtraction. So without further ado, let's get right into our video. So to start off this process of working with negative numbers, we're going to look at it through a number line. And if you don't know what a number line is, it's basically this line in green. And as you can see, there are a bunch of numbers on it, ranging from all the way from -4 all the way to +4. And as you can see, they are arranged in terms of least to greatest. So it's always important to remember that the least amount will always be on the left-hand side of the number line, and then the greatest amount will always be on the right-hand side of the number line. So with that in mind, today your number line is going to be your best friend when you're solving these problems. So let's go ahead and look at some of these problems. So when you're working with negative numbers, obviously a negative number means that it has a minus sign attached to the beginning of it. Let's take x as a random number. So x by itself, we assume that it's positive. If there's no sign in front of the x, we assume that there's just a hidden positive sign, which means that this is going to be positive. But if x has a minus sign in front of it, we assume that it's negative. So this in total is going to be a negative number. So that's one more thing to keep in mind before we solve these problems. So when you're adding or subtracting negative numbers, it's really easy to get it confused because we have that added negative sign in front of our numbers. So it basically means that you're subtracting the number because we have that minus sign in front of our number. So our first problem is -4 plus -1. What we're going to do first is locate our first number, -4, on our number line. So first we can locate -4. I'm going to be using this number line. So first we found -4. Here is our number -4. Now we're going to locate, actually we're not going to locate -1. We are going to use counting skills to subtract 1 from -4. So when we're subtracting 1 from -4, let's go back to our easier number line. If we subtract 1 from 0, we go in the left direction and end up at -1. If we add 1 to 0, we go in the right direction and end up at +1. So remember, whenever you have a negative number, you go towards the left side. Similarly, if you want to subtract 1 from -1, go 1 more to the left and end up at -2. Subtract 1 more from -2, you end up here, -3. Let's say we wanted to subtract 2 from -2. We go 2 spaces to the left, so 1 and 2, and we end up at -4. So, looking back at our problem, we want to subtract -1 from -4. So, we want to subtract 1 from here. Remember, we go in the left direction, and so we end up at -5. And that's literally all you have to do for these types of problems. So we arrived at our answer already, and our answer for this one is -5. Box your answer just to make it clear. And I'm going to erase our work so that we can move on to the next problem. Let's look at our next problem. We have -2 plus -5. So first things we're going to do is locate -2 on our number line. negative 2, we found it right here on our number line. And now what we're going to do is we're going to move 5 spaces to the left. So remember, this is a normal 5 spaces. So 5 just means 5 spaces. Now you're going to look at the negative sign and see if it tells you to go left or right. The negative sign means that you go left. If you had positive 5, you would go 5 spaces to the right. Okay, but in this case, we're going 5 spaces to the left. So let's start counting. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we end up at negative 7. And that's all we have to do for our answer. So we arrived at our answer of negative 7. Now, another easier way you could have done this problem that would probably save you a little bit more time, especially when it comes to counting, is you can try to locate the bigger of the numbers. So in this case, negative 5 is going to be less than negative 2. But let's think of it in terms of kind of the number value without the positive or negative signs. 5 is bigger than 2, right? So think of 5 spaces versus 2 spaces. If you start at 5, you would only have to move 2 spaces. But if you start at 2, you would have to move 5 spaces. So an easier way you could have done this problem is locate negative 5 first, which is right here. And now all you have to do, remember this means left, and this means 2 spaces. So now all you have to do is move 2 spaces to the left. 1 and 2. And you also end up at the same number that we got in our first method, which was negative 7. Sorry, that almost looks like a 1. Let me correct that. Okay, negative 7. So you end up at the same place, but it's much faster. So you can try to find an easier way to do the problems like that. Okay, let's move on to our next problem. Negative 3 plus 1. So let's just go with our first method of locating where this number is on the number line, negative 3. So go to our number line, we find negative 3. But now, if you notice, we don't have a negative number like we did before in our previous examples. We just have a positive number. And remember, a positive number has kind of like an invisible plus sign in front of it. But since that plus sign is distributed to the operation in the middle, we just assume that this is our entire number, positive 1. Now remember, a plus sign means that our direction is going towards the right side. And 1 just means we move 1 space. So in total, we move 1 space to the right. And when we do that, we end up at negative 2. So that's all we have to do for this problem. So our answer is negative 2. In this case, the easiest way to have done it was how we just did it. If you had started at positive 1 and then you moved 3 spaces to the left, that would have taken a little bit more time, but you would have ended up at the same place of negative 2. So let me go ahead and erase on our number line so that we can move on and do the other problem. So our next problem is going to be negative 1 plus 2. So negative 1 plus 2, we can start by locating our first number, which is negative 1. So we found it on our number line. And remember how we did it with the example up here? A plus sign just means move to the right. And a 2 means that you move 2 spaces. So in total, you're moving 2 spaces to the right. So you move 1 and 2. And in total, you end up here at positive 1. Since this problem was fairly easy, you can probably do it any way that you want to. I'm going to show you the second way that you can possibly do it. Possibly do it, not positively do it. All these plus and minus signs are getting to me. But let me really quickly just write our answer down. We got +1 as our answer. But another way to do this problem would be to start off at +2. So let's switch up the roles here. So I'm gonna switch it up and I'm gonna circle our +2. So we're starting at +2. And I'm really quickly going to make a note of what our next operation is going to be. So remember, a negative sign means move to the left. 1 just means 1 space. So in total, you're moving 1 space to the left. So starting at +2 and moving 1 space to the left, you end up at +1, which is our final answer. Awesome. So those are all the example problems I have for you today. Obviously, these are very easy problems and we didn't use the entire spectrum of the number line, but I do have a couple of other example problems for you all to do on your own. Here they are. Feel free to screenshot these problems and try them on your own if you want to. I'm also going to show you guys the number line that you can use with these problems. It's the same one that we used in our examples just now. So go ahead and screenshot this if you would like some extra practice, or you can pause the video right now, draw your own number line, and try to do these problems on your own. I would highly recommend doing these problems if you want some extra practice or if you want to just get better at solving these faster. And these are also a little bit more advanced than what we did right now for practice in the example problem. So if you have any more questions, you can feel free to email us. Our email is in the description box below. So go ahead and email us if you have any questions with these example problems or anything that we covered today. If you are watching these videos and they really help you out, we really recommend sending us an email with your experience. It would help us reach more people and it would help people see what our methods of teaching are and if they work for you or not. So that's all we have for you today. Thank you so much for checking out our page. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to email us, but if not, we'll see you next time.